Hey guys, and welcome back to Let's Paint. So as I said, as it shows in the description, I'm going to be painting with a bunch of multiple colors since it is springtime. So we're talking about like pastels, bright and colorful, some little fun trinks. So let's get started. So as usual, I'm going to be priming with my face with my two go-to primers, which is the Rose Primer from the Rebel Rose collection of Wet n Wild, and the One Heck of a Blot Primer from Soap and Glory, just to help with the oiliness on my nose zone, really. So using a Real Techniques buffing brush, I'm going to start applying the Rose Primer along the outer edges of my face. Just buffing it out nice and easy. And now I'm going in with the One Heck of a Blot Primer and just going to distribute this along my T-zone, which is the nose, the forehead, and the chin area, and the under eyes too. And then also just blending it in with the Rose Primer to kind of have a little bit of an extra coverage. She does the bougie, she does the Banji. I don't want people to come to my show and be like, oh, you know what Sugar's gonna do today. I've been doing that for 17 years. I've been doing it like good shit for years. And for foundation today, I'm actually just going to do something a little light coverage or medium coverage because I don't want to use my full coverage foundation. So I'm going in with Remmel's long-lasting, breathable 25-hour foundation in the shade 101 Classic Ivory. And using an e.l.f. buffing brush to distribute this along my face as well. Polished, persistent, and pussy. I've been playing tricks on Google. This bitch is done. It's not Instagram filters. The bitch is done me. I grew up in Saigon, Vietnam, so a lot of my drag. And just slowly working that product in. I just turned 21 last month. I'm your grandmother girl. I think most queens would think that, oh, she's young. And she's just pretty. What else would she do? But I'm a sensitive and first. I'm so gagged about that. I'm a 16-year-old adult. I am the African princess. I'm from Boston, Kenya. I moved to America when I was 11. Winter was all about jewels, bling, 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 good. What's your Mercedes? Mercedes, just like the car. You will never miss that, baby. Oh, bitch, what? Feeling is mutual. My name is Scarlett and I'm Southern Beauty and New York City Grit. Come on, Waves. My drag is about embracing the beauty that you were blessed with. And I happen to be very blessed. Hate being quiet, but when you're so focused on trying to perfect it. City's crown jewels. Honey Scout, if anything, the hell I feel like that gay. I always say, like, I might wear Givenchy, but lately
am so gagged that Miss Honey Davenport is here. She is huge in New York City. She's a legend there. I love a good competition, though. I wouldn't call myself a pageant queen. I'm a performer who exceeds limits. Just 2 months ago, I was in an off-Broadway show. I used to have my own band. I just don't fit into any single box or type of drag. So do you guys think there's going to be any surprises this season? Oh, absolutely, girl. You think there's anyone new now? Returning? Yeah, returning. So I think I know. I have a guy. Yeah, let's say all on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bang!
Alrighty. Foundation is evenly distributed. There we go. Now on to contour and highlighting. I'm going in with my 2 besties, the Infallible Full Face of L'Oreal Paris in the shades 320 Porcelain and 390 Cedar. And for buffing out the concealer, I'm actually going to be trying using this new brush that I got from Dollar General called Believe Beauty Products. I think it's a new brand since Broadway Colors is not in the store that I live near. So I'm kind of curious to see how this works.
My drag is in your face. It's very sexy. It's shining. Wait, which one you want is Universe.
Oops.
I'm with Black Universe. You know what? I do consider myself a fat. I know some of y'all don't like that word, but I'm going to change your mind on it. So how many Davenports are there? Do we know? Oh, certainly it's this. Bring it to season 12, Move over, ladies. It's Rachel.
Not bad. Not mad at it.
My name is Evie Harley, and I'm Denver's commodity of drag oddity. Denver predominantly have sparkly, dancing, like bodysuit, hair flipping queens, and I shut that up. The inspirations I draw from there, Alexander McQueen, Christine, because she's so nuts. I'm really confused as to why Hot Wheels needs to make an appearance on RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm consensual. I'm just here to shop and such. You're trying to get a prize, you're trying to get good. Much, crunch. Look at now, she's going to eat the lunch. Introducing the son, bring points to us. She is the queen. Doesn't fail her. And she goes by the delicious name of Nutmeg Tonight. Big Silk got the good old milk. Sophie can do anything. I have jumped on a U.S. Postal truck in the middle of my show and drove off. I'm going to use this platform to start my career, having my own spin-off show, which I want coming in the door.
Not bad. Say that much. Alrighty, on to contouring. So I'm going to use this Real Techniques multi-face purpose brush to help buff out the contouring. And actually going over it with a beauty blender to blur the lines down just a little bit more. Goodness.
International. My name is Brooklyn Heights, and I'm not quite Canadian bacon, but I'm more Canadian turkey bacon because I'm a little bit newer. I grew up in Toronto, Canada, but I'm now in Nashville, Tennessee. I was was a professional ballet dancer for 6 years, so I tried.
And then just using that same foundation brush where I may have sat her to kind of
She was a former educator of the year. And we just kind of got right into it. So, what year did you win Congress? 2014. Get the hell out. Get out. What is the phone is confident? And that they are really big thing for the pageant group. Bitch, you got the pageant queens in this phone. That's what I said. I don't have much of a reaction. I've seen before. She's sparkling. She's wearing top of the hair. And now this is what dreams are made of. Yes. I'm Ariel Versace, and I'm 26 years old. Ariel is basically like if Lisa Frank grew up on a drag queen. That's me. She's your pop princess, life-size brat style. I have almost like 80,000 followers on Instagram, but I think it's really annoying when people are always like, Ariel from Instagram. Ariel can sing, she can act, she can dance. And if you're going to come see me at a show, I'm not just going to stand there like, I'm going to turn it out. This is turning out to be like the pageant season, right? You like pageant queen or something like that. But that's not like what I do, though. Because you get really bitchy in pageants in a minute to oh, that's a good team.
And then to do my nose, I'm going to be using this flat edge contour brush with a little help from CoverGirl's True Blend Stick.
Is a dancing queen. I'm known for my tips, my splits, my energy. But Raja is also it's national television, honey. Staple that shit to your ear, girl.
And I'm just using this little Baby Beauty, like one of these little brushes to kind of help just blend it a little bit more.
Hannah's favorite look is when she's showing her body, but also just staying true to like my hip hop showgirl dance queen. Rhinestones on your ass. Rhinestones can be for pretty girls. Oh, you Coco daughter? Yeah. Okay, she's Coco Montrez's daughter. We got a reputation to live up to. Let's see if she lives up to that.
Now for brows, I'm going to be shaping them out first with this Wet n Wild brow pencil in the shade Ash Brown.
Where I review every episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. So this is so crazy for me to be on this side of it. You do your YouTube. How often do you like perform before? I do my YouTube like twice a week. Would you like consider yourself an entertainer or just like kind of blog or anything? Oh yeah. Oh, entertainer. Okay. I know Sochi from online. I know that she's not much former, which really makes sense from a girl right here. So I guess I'm really looking forward to see what she does to prove me wrong. You know what?
And then filling them in using this e.l.f. brow pot in the shade medium brown with a Walgreens eyebrow angle brush.
My queen, welcome to RuPaul's Drag Race. Or should I say welcome home? 126 legendary queens have sashayed through that door before you. So from this moment on, you belong to a sisterhood of badass bitches. Hashtag dragons. That's right, queens everywhere. So don't get too gassed.
Unfortunately, that went a little thicker than I anticipated, so I'm going to clean them up using a Smashbox concealer and a sleek concealer brush to kind of help with this.
To prepare for his photo shoot. Are you intrigued? I thought so. I know it's not gonna be a regular photo shoot. I know it's not gonna be some shenanigans. Mama moves up to something. The chicken is let's go. The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race receives a 1-year supply of Anastasia Beverly Hills Cosmetics and a cash prize of $100,000 with extra special guest judge Miley Cyrus. Just scratch. Scarlet Envy. Hello, RuPaul. Welcome to my home. Now this
Much better.
is Albert Sanchez. He's Beyonce, Nicole Kidman, and me. Today, it's your turn. I'm so honored. But don't get it twisted, Robin, because you're calling all the shots here. You have to decide how and where you pose. Taking a photo? Girl. I got this. Let's do it. Choose your first position. Oh, but darling, hold up. Something's missing. Or shall I say someone? Hey, bitch. I'm the Auntie Raja. Oh, my God. The Raja. Scarlett, I've invited Drag Race legends to pose with each of my youngins. We're going to find out if you have what it takes to stand amongst greats. You up for the task? Pose the house down. Let's get some props in here. Here we go. And you're actually eating the olive. That's really method, isn't it? You want one? No. Atta girl. That's why I won. Sugar cane. It's good. I feel like something's missing. Oh. Hey, Jess. I'm Jessica Mathis, and I have something to say. Oh, my God. I'm Jasmine, and I just can't help but scream. I live for this queen. Now, your job is to try to outshine her. We'll see. I'm just going to black. I'm my man, girl. All right. Listen, bitch. Put my ass if you got to. And take me to the room. I'll be right with Honey Davenport. Yeah, I feel like something's missing. Oh, my God.
And I'm just taking a little bit of foundation to kind of help clean the tops.
This is my drag small. How about that? Let's go to Japan, because this looks like a wall of winners. Well, the winners should turn over there. Alexis and Crystal, meet and last. Raj O'Hara and Ginger Minch. Phone call on your earrings? Yes, please. I feel like Raj had some good ideas. But I just wanted to put the earrings away and promise Mama. Vanessa Banshee Mateo and Pheromone. What story are you telling us, Vanessa? Two hoes like to get caught when told me but I'm staying. Okay, thank you all, Mary. I love that Vanessa is just taking charge of the situation. Okay, I'm just going to trust her vision, whether I'm actually visible or not. Is this some kind of a bust? No, just two prostitutes. So that's an ongoing theme with you. Bye. See y'all later. I'm not doing prostitution now. Brooklyn Heights and Angina. I'm going to let you up. It's an officer.
All right. Now on to setting everything. I'm going to be using my Coty Airspun in the shade Naturally Neutral. Just so that way it kind of gives everything a more even playing field.
both of us together. All those furs. So just sit, however. You want Delta to sit any particular way? No, not sure now, do you? Just make yourself at home, Delta. Mercedes is beautiful. She's very opulent, very glamorous. But I think she's a little confused by the challenge. Delta, would you like to drive this Mercedes? I think somebody needs to clean the driver's seat. Come on, my trees. And Aaron Barry. No, in love with Bianca. I'm sorry, everything but this. Oh, okay, alcoholism. Curious Heat Davenport and Kamora Blast. How about Peter Peach Cherry Garden? I don't even like cherries because cherries has a lot of GMO in it, and I don't eat GMOs. Oh boy. Silky Nutmeg Ganache and Mariah Balenciaga.
All right. Then I'm going to be using a CoverGirl blush brush to just kind of brush any excess powder off. On to powders. So I'm going to be using this Physicians Formula Bronze Booster palette, which is matte styled or matte colored bronzers, which is a darker bronzer, an ashy bronzer, and a highlighting. I'm going to take the darkest one to help start chiseling these cheeks and using a fluffy brush to start chiseling them in.
My queens, one of you has a legendary star power that outshines all the others. Silky Nutmeg Ganache, who are the winner of this week's mini challenge, won a $2,500 gift card from Harvey Queens. Honey. Now you know I am a force to be reckoned with in this competition. Coming up, I've got some bad news. What? I'm thinking, oh my God, after this first episode, girl.
And then using my bronzer brush that doesn't have any product on it, I'm just going to start kind of buffing this out a little bit.
Everyone is going to turn into boys. I love drag, but I love boys. Oh, that feels so good. I'm boys. I don't even know who's who right now. I didn't know who was who.
And I'm going to be going in with my Physicians Formula Bronze Booster, the one that's got like the really glowy sun in it. I'm just going to use this to kind of chisel my jaw a little bit.
Oh my God, that looks so thirsty. Hey, girls. Ladies, I've got to do that. All of your luggage was lost. Right? Hold up. The good news.
And then taking this Real Techniques contouring brush to kind of emphasize that jaw just a little bit more.
Has agreed to let you use some previously unclaimed luggage. Oh, true. Ladies, for your first maxi challenge, each of you needs to create your own unique, legendary look using only the junk inside these trunks. Lucky for you, each of these trunks once belonged to a drag race legend. Now, Silky, you won the mini challenge, so you get to assign the trunks. Now, Queen, I want to buy the trunks box because I know there will be secrets, there will be lingerie that make it to a very cute outfit. Violet, now remember who came with you and who wasn't. So, Silky, which trunk do you pick for yourself? How refreshing.
And then using a Wet n Wild eyeshadow brush with that ash brown color, I'm going to help kind of sleek down this nose just a little bit more.
Also known as Violet Touch. Whose trunk you gonna get to? Ontario Davenport. Oh, wait, forget about Vicky out of the day. We all deserve to be here. If you go home, you're going home on your own accord. So I give everybody similar to what they get. Baby on.
And then taking a sleek contouring brush, which is the same as the Real Techniques one, taking that highlight tone.
Brooklyn Heights. He popped today, honey. Kahana Trees. Okay. Raja O'Hara. Kennedy Davenport. Mercedes Iman Dunn. Bianca Del Rio. What about Nina? She's gonna get the way she go on. What trophy you gonna give? Sugar cane.
And then taking this Real Techniques Brush Crush Fantasy, the blush brush. I'm going to take my Music Flower 5 color blusher and taking this dark blush here to kind of start chiseling out these cheeks a little bit more to blend out this contour.
Someone vying for their own spin-off. All right, thank you, Silky. You can join the other girls. Ladies, everything you need to create your own legendary look is right here. But remember, the final look needs to be 100% your style. Gentlemen, start your engines. May this woman win.
And then taking a Real Techniques mini blush brush and the Almay blush and the Smart Shade blush and the shade Pink. It took me a minute to actually remember.
I'm gonna eat this. Baby, I'm having a flashback. Your heart takes cool down, ready to watch things is.
It's literally a head and legs, and the rest is flowers.
I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm back here the first episode. I do not pass this first episode. Girl. Gentlemen. Yeah, I'm doing this with two of the possible. You know, I'm gonna cut some pieces out of this. So the main thing I'm focusing on is making sure my silhouette is my body.
And then using a e.l.f. contouring brush, which is just a really flat brush. And then a little bit of Wet n Wild's Press Power to do the stripe down the nose to emphasize that highlight just a little bit more.
I got such a good box. Not the first time I've heard that. Kimchi's box is really inspiring me to turn some looks. First thing that I'm thinking about is my Korean heritage. You know, this is my first dress I'm making. Really? You know what I'm doing? Yeah. I'm excited. I feel like I got it. So when I see all these tools on all these colors, I immediately think humble. There's a Korean dress that all the women in Korea wear for special occasions. It doesn't really show your waist, which means that I don't have to cinch and I don't have to put my paddings on. That's a lot of tool. Last time I had that much tool, I got the boom.
And then just to highlight under the eyes, I'm going to use this Revolution Cosmetics Bacon Blot, which is just white, but this will kind of help make that highlight pop a little bit more.
Sophie says that she doesn't have enough material to make a finished garment, but I'm looking at it, well, there's more than that. I'm not even you have to let the Lord use you. He used me. Well, you better hurry up and be down. Sophie knows that she's on TV, and she's here to make her screen time rather than working.
Blink for a second. I'll do the brows after I do my shadows. And then taking my Coty Airspun Extra Coverage Translucent to start cutting these cheeks.
She's making sweeten up this runway.
I just want to see if everybody remembered this. Excuse me, everybody's attention. Attitude check. See y'all gonna do me like that? Coming up.
Hey, what's up? It's Miley Cyrus. I'm gonna go Queens for the first time, but I don't know what I mean me. I want to go on the cover with the lady. Someone is pretty.
It's a no fact that an evening bag is due to a lady carrying it. I don't know.
For our very first message challenge, we have to create legendary looks using material from Drag Race Alumni. And trust, if anybody knows the pressure of the first runway,
That's a costume catch, bitch. You catching my vibe?
I'm catching my eye.
My favorite costume box is this little bit of costume with.
Goodness, stuff gets everywhere.
I can definitely see where Audrey meets my other dance queen. She gets a lot of that in her aesthetic. She used to be a gymnast. I used to be gymnast. So I can make this work. For this all, I'm going on Project Runway.
Was it just sudden?
I'm after what you guys say you want to sell me.
I know my strength.
RuPaul says it.
And then just kind of touching up the blush a little.
I'm not very good.
Girl, I just am lost with all this.
Remember, this is not gorgeous.
I know, but I know. I can use this. I can cover this to create like a hat or something like that. And, I really am struggling. I have auditioned for this show 9 times. And I want to rise to the level that everyone thinks that I'm going to bring. That's scary.
So, calm down. Nina seems really unsure of herself, which is crazy because this is Nina West. Like, this is a drag legend in our community.
I'm trying to like think outside the box how make this happen.
Why are you in your hair, mama?
Just call me DJ.
Alright, Duncan. This is. Hey, what's up? It's me, Barry Johnson, aka BJ. Why? I want to get to Mariah Carey, but my friend's coming. Miley Cyrus, aka Hannah Montana. Alright, go Queens for the first time, but I don't know what I mean me. So I am the guest judge this week on the panel. But first, I want to go undercover with the ladies. Love me some fucking beautiful women. Pretty excited about this. Someone is crew.
Can I tuck this in your back pocket?
Tuck away. Never gonna go away. Burning time doing part of the fucking party. Coming out with the beach. Season 11, you're not gonna know what hit.
Just touching up the nose just a little bit more.
Miss BG. You have to learn about yourself, baby. I did that last year. There was no space. I have to learn my lesson quick.
Silky seems really confident about her, so I don't really care for it that much. It kind of just looks like a big, like, blanket laying on her, so.
All right. Now for the eyes. Today I'm not going to be using the Hard Candy eyeshadow primer. I'm actually going to take an old one that I haven't used in ages, which is going to be my NYX eyeshadow primer in the shade white, because since we're playing with a lot of bright, bold colors. Now, I haven't used this in a while because it always seemed to crease up on me, but I think I found a way to keep that from happening. So I'm going to be using my Perfect Concealer brush from e.l.f.
Victoria? Victoria's the one with the issue? What? I need to just have you stand up here. Got an audio issue. Audio. DJ.
Copy.
Victoria's mic. You fix that out.
It's down here. You had to look from the bottom.
I will.
Hold on, man. Come here. Come here.
I took care of it. Come here.
So for the lip color today, I'm going to be playing with a very bright purple. So I thought I would go in with my two BH Cosmetic palettes of the Superstar or the Supernova and the Galaxy Chic, just to play with some really bright, bold colors. So I'm going to take the shade Nebula and just slowly work that as my outer shade.
I'm freaking out. I can't believe I'm hearing this double mirrored shit. Or right something. So, what's everyone's vibe tonight? Does everyone feel like comfortable? I'm a little nervous. You know what? When I'm nervous, I know it sounds cheesy, but seriously, breathe. You hold one side and you breathe through one side and you exhale through the other. Because if you're not breathing, you get into this panic and you're not yourself. My grandmother's always party. And,
And just to clean up this line a little bit, I'm just going to take some piece of paper, line it right there.
For me, as a fan of home, I fall in love with personality and what everyone has done. You do that through your personality. You always need more confidence. So great. So I'm gonna go deep dive and then read it.
And then taking a little bit of Pluto.
It's really shocking to be this close to Miley, and it's really humbling actually because she seems genuinely as excited about meeting us and getting to be part of this experience as we are to see her.
Have a great show. See y'all. Bye.
And then taking this little Revlon shadow brush, I'm actually going to go in with a Hard Candy Baked eyeshadow in the shade. It actually doesn't say, but it's like this really cool teal looking shade. Along with a little bit of Electra, because I want this crease to be like
Welcome to the main stage of RuPaul's Drag Race. Living legend Michelle Visage, the hilarious Ross Matthews, style superstar Carson Kressley, and our undercover judge Miley Cyrus.
It's season 11 and I'm here to break records through.
Yes, you are. We're so happy to have you here.
I'm completely freaking out.
This week we challenge our queens to create their own legendary first.
And if any fallout ever happens, don't use your finger because you could risk smudging it out even further. I just use the same blush brush to kind of push it away.
And may the best woman win. First up, Mystique Tiara.
And then just taking, and I have like 3 different Wet n Wild brushes for different good occasions because I honestly think these eyeshadow brushes are incredible. Just taking this and slowly buffing it out into the brow.
She's strutting like a dancer. I am superhero chic. Like I saved a city and decided to go to the People at home, put your children in dance class immediately. Honey down in the corner.
She's really blocking me.
There we go.
This ensemble is really all the way up to that. You think this flower makes my head look big?
And now on to the other eye.
Ariel Versace. Oh, you really like up this one.
I'm not the only pot.
No, you're not. This is custom wood. I used to wear. I have my signature big hair on. And yes, the carpets do match the drapes. Too long food. Evie Oddly from Easter Basket Hill. I bought this gorgeous plastic jacket and with my bald head glittering. I'm like budget Barbie from the future.
Forget about yes we can. Yes we surround.
You know, she lives in the present. Akira C. Davenport.
You man enter.
I have completely turned
Oops. A little bit fell off there.
sibling dies. I'm the thing you drag. Martha will say, I look at her, Scarlet Parsons. Scarlet Envy. When I sit on my hat.
Me too.
Red is my signature color. It's sexy. It's stimulating. It's everything that I feel my drag is bringing. Obviously, the bow is not doing carbs anymore. Soji, it's little pound cake's play friend. I'm putting my own twist on the humble silhouette. I'm giving you everything that kimchi and soju would make as a baby. She is such a tool.
If I sold you one, I sold you 1,000 times.
Martha O'Hara.
You cried a lot, baby. Almost a coat.
I'm serving you 70s, disco, roller skate fish, ooh, all the way up to my fucking thighs, just ma'am, through pinky roots. Mercedes Iman Diamond. You want to ride on Mercedes boy? I am feeling this love. It fits so perfect. The mud and this beach was off. Okay? You should very picture piece. So I asked. Sugar cane.
You right. If you're looking for skirts, you can totally be pink.
I love to wear dresses that I can twirl in and do a little flash and really show my legs off. Trying to show the judges that I'm a lot of fun. And that's beautiful. Now take a bow. I mean, bro. Vanessa Banshee Patel.
Awesome.
Last time I was on this runway, I was not so confident. This time I'm feeling my judge with my Dr. Coachella outfit. I can't breathe, and I'm living for it.
Sooner or later.
Now we know where the wallpaper went from the haunted mansion.
Silky nutmeg ganache. No phone.
The new flavor called Pyramid.
I am wearing a secret.
And just to clean up these edges a little bit, I'm going to take that same pressed powder along with that shadow brush.
Oh my god.
Nina West.
She's been burnt. Heather Converse.
You know I'm wearing a dress that's not normal. I just strut my ass down. Give it some shoulder.
And then to highlight these inner corners,
Kahana on trees.
taking this e.l.f. blending brush, just like a little dome blending, and then going back in with the Supernova. And I'm going to take a little bit of Aurora and Celestial. Yes.
It's Kahana Montana.
Coming up,
You have to show us who you are on the runway. What are our mistakes?
in this business, you don't get many second chances.
Oh, we are giving some galaxy vibes here. And before I do the under eyes, I'm actually going to start doing my brows,
Now, when I call your name,
which I'm going to take my custom that I made, which was a typical... Hi, Lacey. So I'm going to be taking a custom flat angle brush from e.l.f. that I actually cut at an angle to start doing my brows with. And I'm all sitting over here. Oh. And then I take the shade Made for Mocha from Maybelline and just start drawing in these brows just to emphasize the color a little.
Starting with Plastique Tiara.
Hi, Plastique. Well, kind of got a glimpse at your dress before, and I loved it since I was in the workroom. There's a level of class I really, really love.
Have you worn this kind of look before?
It's kind of like my go-to stitch in the middle and then something flow.
It looks so well done. Even though I came out of box, and I'm gonna remember you when I go to bed tonight.
Next, the BK, y'all. Say hi.
Now, even though the brow kind of was a little lower than this, the good thing about this shadow is it kind of blends that out a little
This was fantastic. You own
to where you really can't see it. Even though it's a lot of metallics, I know that's sort of like a makeup taboo is using nothing but shimmer because then you can't see anything. But I can also emphasize that crease just a tad by using a matte black from Maybelline, which is the Night Sky. Yes, it's one of my favorite blacks of all time.
Next up, Akira C. Davenport.
The necklace is huge, the earrings is huge, the headpiece. It's a lot, but I don't know. I got excited when you walked around that corner.
I'm a firm believer that we can build a career on too much. I've done it. There's some other people here that have done it. Don't act.
And I love the fact that you were all that hair. You can do two things.
Yeah, when you use nothing but shimmers and you're trying to do like a really detailed eye, all that shine is really going to kind of encompass or really it defeats that purpose because you can't see any definition. Normally you want to keep your shimmers mainly on your lid or on your brow bone to show off that design, that detailed brow.
This is tough because you get one chance to show all of us something that intrigues, and I don't know that you did that with this look.
It's been a rough journey getting here. I got diagnosed with tinnitus, and I'm currently losing, and then it popped in the plane right here. So it's just been a mess. I'm so sorry that I overshared.
But can I tell you something? I kind of know who you are now. You're like a weird oversharer. I like that. It's my favorite thing you've done.
I mean, it's not always a terrible thing. It always depends on what look you're going for. Like, they always say, like, if you're going to do an extreme eye, keep the lip neutral. If you're going to do a really bold lip, keep the eyes neutral. Quite honestly, I say screw all that. Do what makes you feel freaking happy. Because if I want to go all out with all these different bright tones, then I'm going to go all out. I'm not going to sit there and encompass it just because of a certain makeup aspect, in a sense. Because I want to show off all the colors of the rainbow, every nook and cranny that I can do.
Because last year, you didn't. This is who Vanjie is. Well, that's her.
You seem a little nervous. Are you nervous?
You know, just anxious. Because last time I thought I looked cute too, so I thought sweating. You have a lot of personality that just oozes out of you in different ways and so
You just feel like you know as a person.
And now for the under eyes, I'm going to take that same tone Pluto
I want to know what you're saying next week.
and keep this on the outer corners because on the inner corners I'm going to use something a little brighter.
I see a lot of audition reels from you.
9 years.
9 years.
Nina, what are our features? And what's on the dress?
I know. I'm not original. But what I'm wearing.
When Drew walked into the workroom yesterday, I was just adopted. When I was a kid, I remember.
And then using that same brush that has a little bit of that purple, I can't remember the name, nebula. Without taking any more product, I'm just going to buff and smoke these corners out.
That's heartbreaking.
And on the inner corners, I'm going to take that same Electra
So, get out of your head because how it takes.
Up next, Hannah Montrese.
This was so.
So I'm using the BH Cosmetics in Galaxy Chic and Supernova. Both my husband and my grandmother got me these palettes for Christmas 2 years ago. I cannot believe I haven't been using these as much.
Very like a hip hop show girl, but also very elegant. I got lost because I was trying to put behind my grad with Oculus. The challenge was for you to interpret your
I'm just taking a little bit of Nebula
Oculus.
and just...
To be honest, it's hard when you got a drag race letter. It's just that expectation behind it.
Yeah, they got some really good pigment. Like, I'm not going to lie, even after almost 2 years since I've had these, the pigment is still good. That's why I always tell people that when it comes to checking for expired makeup, usually like powders, like shadows and stuff will last a lot longer than any traditional makeup, because really the only thing you have to worry with powder is making sure that they don't sit in a place that gathers moisture, because then they can really stay for a good.
The con would be she was playing it safe. She gave us the pretty. I was keeping it pretty.
Let's move on down to Brooklyn Heights.
I love really representing the challenge. Because I don't think we can say that for all of the girls.
Brooklyn could afford Nina's dress and still be in the top.
Now for eyeliner. So I'm going in with my personal favorite, which is the Maybelline Master Precise All Day Liner. Oh yeah. One of my favorite drag queens I love watching, named Yua Hamasaki, when she did her makeup tutorial, she told us that she had a blush that she's carried for about 7 years, and it still gave good pigmentation. Excuse me.
Let's move on to Soju.
First of all, I'm not sure she was wearing flats or not.
She was what
I mean, maybe the aesthetic of that dress could have changed if she had a nice heel on.
Ross Matthews. I know you're obsessed with her sis.
He's obsessed.
I'm obsessed. That's my sister up there. Now she was wearing black. She was slipped. I fell in love with her when she opened her mouth. There's a deep well and kind of weird there. But that outfit was undeniably impressive.
Mercedes Iman Diamond.
A Maybach she ain't.
Now more of like a certified pre-owned Chevy.
Not a bad car.
You know how I feel about the bodysuit. It's just so unimaginative. And she kept looking down. I wasn't connecting with any kind of personality.
She seemed overwhelmed, maybe intimidated by the crowd that she was in.
Mascaras, those you definitely want to replace about every 3 months, because every time you open it and take the pump out, you're actually pushing air into it to where you could be drying it out a lot faster. Lipsticks, generally, that I'm not 100% sure. I would say unless it starts smelling funny, I'd say it's still a pretty good lipstick to use.
Nina West. Even though that dress looked like a real blood disease, we got distracted by her personality, by her sincerity.
She tried 9 times to be here. It's just such a shame.
And glosses, I'd say generally the same rule. As long as they don't start smelling like really chemically or like paint, because I think that's generally like the basis of most makeup, is that it's kind of like a paint base. But
This look tonight by far was my least favorite.
Really more than Soju?
Yeah, at least it's 2 colors of a tulle and a floral. That made no sense.
That didn't bug me as much as when I asked her to describe her dress.
Yes. But you kind of then went, I'm really classy. With the titty hanging out.
Silence. I've made my decision. Bring back my goodness. Welcome back.
because I had a lipstick from Wet n Wild from the Halloween collection about 3 years ago that honestly stunk.
Mystique.
And I told myself, oh, that's done. Like it almost smelled rotten.
This week you hit the heights. Congratulations, you are the winner of this week's challenge. You've won
Uh-oh.
7 nights stay in Paris, including luxury apartment and airfare, courtesy of Mr. B&B, the world's world's largest day vacation rental service.
Hey, can I go with you?
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, one eye down. Swear, like James Mansfield says, eyeliner is like open heart surgery on makeup.
Sochi, your knots weren't landing. Mercedes on Diamond. The runway, you ran out of gas. Kahana Munchies. Tonight, you are a one-armed bandit, but you did not hit the jackpot. Mercedes. Mercedes.
It definitely takes a good bit of practice. If anything, I used to use Scotch tape to do the wings.
Two queens stand before me. Prior to tonight, you were asked to prepare a lip sync performance of the best of both worlds by Hannah Montana. Whatever happened to her? A lot of drugs. That won't make me happy. This is your last chance to impress me. Save yourself from elimination.
There is that. You can do it for the under eyes for the fallout, but you could also use like a lot of translucent powder and set it there. So that way, once all the fallout is done and you're done with the shadows, you can just brush it off. That's why when you see like a lot of drag queens do their makeup tutorials, they'll take that powder puff and just pack it under there, because like any heavy pigmentation that falls, they can just brush it off and it comes off completely. Excuse me. Yeah, they're lip syncing to Hannah Montana's Best of Both Worlds from the first episode of season 11 of Drag Race. So I always need something in the background playing, or else I'm going to go crazy than I already am. And before going on to lips, we are going to do what Pheromone loves doing, highlighting the hell out of your face. So I'm actually going to be using 3 different highlighters today. I'm going to be using my NYX highlight Lollipop highlighter in Confetti Glow, Soap and Glory's Love at First Blush, which is like this really pink toned highlighter with a little changes. And then I'm also going in with the new Wet n Wild Brightening Rocks. I think these are incredible and at an affordable $4.99 at Walgreens or even on their website. So I'm going to start with the At First Blush. I'm using a huge fan brush because I think this does best for my cheekbones.
I'm disappointed. I feel like I let my fans down. The Korean culture, we don't give up, we persevere. And I think that's what I'm going to do, Ruth.
Drag
And I always love over-the-top highlighting because it just adds that, excuse me. And then just swirling my brush in the illuminating rocks. And after watching the review about these rocks, you can either A, leave them as solids and do what I did and swirl your brush into it. But this girl that did a review said that you could also like maybe take one at a time and crush them up.
This fucking sucks. You are weird and you are fierce, and I love it.
As a fan of the show, I can't wait to see what you do.
This is a good season of Drag Race. I'm in love with you all already.
That will go in the promo.
If you agree, then we'll speak up about it.
Put that shit on nice.
Well, let's put a picture on cell phone item.
Okay. How do I set that liner? There you are.
According to my DMV database, drag queens have been coming at me.
Thank you, Sarah. It's taken a lot of practice to get the wings somewhat similar, but much like drag queens say, even with eyebrows, they're sisters, never twins. So much like my brows, I get them as close as possible, and if I keep trying, then they're just gonna get bigger and more like crow's wings. Now to highlight under these brow bones, I'm actually going to take a little bit of this LA Color shimmery eyeshadow that you could probably get like at Dollar Tree. And then just taking a generic shadow brush and just...
Mainstream society's appropriation of drag culture. Now I'm gonna put the snacks.
Wait. I recognize that sound.
Step away from the motherfucking drag queen. Oh, that man ain't gonna stop us. No, bitch. But my DMV is totally
There we go. It lightened up that color a little so you can see the crease a little bit better, or at least in my eyes.
But how did you know?
At the DMV, oh, bitch, we can do that.
Actually, that's
Doesn't really get anything better.
Shut up, bitch. Let's go. I'm feeling my motherfucking lips break.
coming up. You blew me away.
There we go.
Oh no.
Now for the going to be like a bold purple. So I'm actually going to use a, where is she? I have like a couple of liners in here, but here we go.
Dr. Silky Nutmeg Ganache. Honey Davenport. Curious.
There you are. So I'm going to take this Profusion
You.
lip liner in the shade Ambitious and start overdrawing the lips just a tad, but not a lot.
Now it's time for the judges' critiques. Starting with Brooklyn Heights.
There's like a little divot there. That's where I think the bottom of my lip is best drawn at.
It was only one note, so it kind of flatlined.
I was actually on the set. I was in incognito. Watching you guys, and one of the notes that Michelle gave me was Beyonce
offer to help. Let me hear you say it.
Beyonce, what?
Because the joke is, well,
Beyonce, what?
there you go.
You kind of sure.
Ugh. The one thing I hate about when you do makeup is when you got an itch in your nose. There we go. And then using this full lip brush from Real Techniques.
You were a scene stealer. Every time you said a line, I was laugh. This is a good season of Drag Race. I'm in love with you all already.
That will go in the promo. Up next, Sugar Cane, Scorpio.
You look beautiful. Your makeup is stunning. But I could not tell you that you're Scorpio. Literally, I got no Scorpio. But your performance as Auntie Maxine, that was so good. You blew me away.
Your job is to come in, knock it out of the park, and get out of there. You did that perfectly. Yeah.
There we go.
Next, Mario Versace.
The upper lips, however, I always have a problem trying to do.
Say, it did make sense for you to pick your shirt up when you were all the way back there and you could barely see it.
In the challenge, I feel like I could see you with your head. You could see you trying to get to the moment.
It was a little clunky. You're tying them together.
Up next, Scarlet Envy.
I really love the fact that you contoured your breasts with turquoise. That's amazing.
I've been watching this show for a long time. I don't think I've seen anyone come out with bubbles. That was a genius idea.
That part that you played, a lot of people play that sort of, oh, I'm Carol, what do I do? Staying at this level the whole time. And I'm already.
There we go. Once I actually get it right.
Was my peaks and valleys in the performance. I didn't know how much you had to offer.
I just want to say I was chosen last.
Yeah, she was.
And shook me. I really enjoyed it. Nice work. Thank you. Up next, Evie Oddly.
Your acting, superb.
It was fun to work with someone with such passion for it.
You two have good chemistry. You guys work well together. And Phoebe Oddly, you are weird and you are fierce, and I love it.
Yeah, and out of all the runways, yours was the best, most committed. As a fan of the show, I can't wait to see what you do. Mercedes Amon Diamond.
Your outfit, compared to what I'm seeing on the stage, it just really fell flat for me. You have to kick it up a notch.
Your performance.
Opulence.
Sometimes I was trying to get you to say opulence. It really sounded like you were saying upland. Like Upland, California. I feel amongst these girls that you get quiet and I lose the stage finishing yourself. I'm almost sad for you. Like maybe you don't feel like you're worthy.
There we go. And taking a fourth Wet n Wild brush, I'm actually going to use this to kind of help blend in this lipstick because it's a Vivid Hot Lip Lacquer from Maybelline in the shade Royal. It's a good lip color. However, I do believe it is a tad bit like very liquidy.
Don't allow that saboteur to block your lesson here. Your moment is now. Thank you. Thanks, Mercedes. Kahana Manchu.
Your outfit compared to these girls who just went for it, I feel like all we pretty much did was just horns and some glitter. If I can do it, then no. I feel like I can do that.
On set, I saw you trying really hard. And I can really appreciate that. I don't think you got all the way there.
Did you and Mercedes try to sort of come up with a routine or a stunt together? Because your roles really did depend on one another.
You know, maybe if I just would have been more in sync with her, we would have landed.
It was a missed opportunity because you all felt disconnected.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ladies. I think we've heard enough. While you and Tuck backstage, the judges and I will deliberate. Now, just between us girlfriends, what do you think? Brooklyn Heights.
For me, on the set, the thing she didn't do was be willing to bend.
Take after take, she did the same thing. Second and third take was an opportunity to loosen up, actually breathe some life into it. Plastique Tiara. Memorable, super funny. All around, really fantastic.
If you're checking boxes, you've got talent, you've got looks. I'm intrigued by what she's going to do next. I mean, what more do you want of me too?
Show Sugar King.
The Zancy vaccine, she was a standout. One of the best, if not the best, in that team.
And then I'm also going to be taking a little bit of this Brilliant Effects lip gloss from Black Radiance in this,
Every time we gave direction, she listened.
it doesn't have a color name, but it's like this really bright pink tone.
As best as she could, but it wasn't there yet. I wanted more. Scarlet Envy.
She was the most natural actress out of all of them.
Scarlett is a leading lady.
Evie Oddly.
I am weirdly intrigued by her. I loved her acting. I think she did a really good job.
I thought she was really funny. I dig that vibe. I'm a big fan. Mercedes Iman Diamond.
I do feel for her. It's horrible what happened, but I feel like use those flaws and make it work for you.
Look, there was no character development in the movie. I don't remember a thing she did.
Also, her bow and arrow work was this. It was a lot of this. Just weird.
A lot of my cheese. I needed more than just splashing little glitter on your necks.
The glitter on the chest looked like hair on her chest. Did you see that?
It looked like hair.
Hoo-hoo-hoo.
Something she understood there. There is something very similar.
All right, on to the final one, lashes. In the words of Scarlet Envy, lashes to lashes, dust to dust. Got like a couple of pairs here. I'm trying to see which ones would I really like. Well, I mean, they all look the same at this point. But I'm going to use these little Franken lashes I made, which is a mixture of like a Gala lash with a Midnight lash from the Kiss Blowout Couture. And I switched up my adhesives because I do believe that the Kiss lash adhesive wasn't doing my eyes any justice because I think they started hurting after a while. So I'm actually going to be using this a different Kiss lash adhesive, the Lash Couture, which is a little stronger, but a lot easier on the eyes, in my opinion.
I think I have shown these ladies who they are talking about.
So using this Kiss or Walgreens lash applicator, I'm going to hold the lash on there and then brush on the adhesive. And then generally I wait about 30 seconds before I start placing it on my hooded lid. I don't ever place it on the lash itself or else it gets really heavy. I kind of figure that's why I always draw these liners a little big to encompass that hooded lid a little bit more. Oops.
Versace, you are safe. Enjoy the other goods.
Oh yeah.
Ladies, this is your last chance to impress me and save yourself from elimination.
There we go.
Time's come. There's lip sync.
On to the left eye, which is always a pain in the butt.
Come on, I want this. This is it. Show the world what you got.
Lock and jump. Fuck it up.
There we go.
Even recognize the things right now. She's giving Tony Braxton.
And then I generally use 2 mascaras just for safe measures. I'm going to be taking my Revlon Length and Volume Magnified Mascara and my Voluptuous Mascara from NYX Cosmetics.
decision. Mercedes Iman Diamond, Shantae Houston. And join the other girls. Johanna Munchies. You are a young queen with a big future.
And then my piece de resistance, my little heart mold, which I use the Ink Me Heart stamp from Rimmel.
It hurts to go home second. I just had a really poor shot. I feel like I exactly why you. That's why you gotta bring it every single time. Congratulations, ladies. Now remember, you can't love yourself. How the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get a womp womp? Can I get an amen?
And I do believe that does it for our colorful makeup. We got the purples, the sky blue cut crease, and just some fun color and some fun. Some fun color and some fun. Way to word that, Aaron. And then usually I would use a setting spray, but since I'm about to go take a shower, it'd be easier just to not waste that.
We are here in the name of Mariah.
And that does it, guys. I'd love to thank you all for joining me on our Let's Paint tutorial on very colorful makeup. And I'm really digging how this looks. I might do it again for work one day. And I hope to see you guys again soon. I will see you guys next week. And enjoy. And remember, be you is being beautiful and always be original.